Happy businessing, everybody. We are live. Yes, we are. It's Happy Businessing with Suz and Andrea McDonald with ProTax and Accounting. And today we're down with PPP. Are you down with PPP?
Yeah, you know me.
I do know you. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm Susan Fessenden. I'm the founder of ProfitLogics, and I have 25 years of real hands-on business management experience from a variety of industries, business sizes, and types. And I've taken all my experience, put it into one cute little toolbox called the 5 Missing Pieces to help you guys build a strong business foundation in concert with your profit launch plan. It's my version of a mini business plan. And today we have on Andrea McDonald with ProTax and Accounting. Andrea.
Hello.
Can you tell us a little bit about you again?
Yeah. So I'm a CPA licensed in Virginia in the US. I have been an accountant for over 20, whatever years. I've been flying solo, self-employed with my own shop for the last 7. I'm heading into my 8th tax season. I have a wonderful team of people who make my world so much more amazing. Could not do this life without them. And at ProTax and Accounting, we do all things accounting and tax related. So small business accounting, small business bookkeeping, personal tax return preparation and planning, business taxes, business tax planning, all the good and fun things. We also deal with a lot of PPP loans.
So basically what you're saying is that you're down with PPP.
I'm definitely down with PPP.
I am sorry. I am such a geek. My geek is showing. All right. So you guys, today we're going to focus on the changes and the new stuff coming out. Andrea and I were just talking about how funny it is because I told her, I'm no expert on PPP. I actually didn't take a PPP loan the first time around. And I almost on purpose didn't want to become an expert on it because I knew things were changing and evolving, and I just have not done advising on this particular issue. And then Andrea was talking about how really can anyone really be a real expert because literally this new package just came out.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It was signed into law, I think it was December 27th, whatever that Sunday was. So
yeah.
I mean, some of it are just updates to the original CARES Act. So in that respect, people have been studying the CARES Act since it came out at the end of March, beginning of April. So in that regard, maybe kind of an expert. But this latest round the bill itself was over 5,000 pages. So we've had about a week and a half since 5,000 pages of legislation were introduced. Kind of hard to be an expert in such a short amount of time.
Totally. All right. Well, you guys, I see you're watching. Thank you so much. Hi, Christian. I see someone, I can't see your name. Give StreamYard permission to show your name. At the very bottom of the post, you'll see a place where you can give StreamYard permission to show your name, and then I'll know who typed, you know me. Thank you guys for commenting. If you have questions, put your questions in the comments and we'll try to address them. Say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. And we are going to do a presentation chit chat right now.
No death by PowerPoint, but we'll hit some highlights.
Let me get rid of this little overlay. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So you guys, I've been going live a lot lately. I'm all lived and talked out. So I am just here to facilitate everyone's learning that Andrea's going to share with you guys today. So Andrea.
I'm ready.
What has changed with the PPP?
Yes. So the bill that was signed into law about a week and a half ago had some really great changes, things that as an accounting community and just as business owners in general, we've really been championing, and we've been writing to our Congress people and our senators, really pushing for some of these issues to be addressed because they were glaring problems when the CARES Act was passed. So I'm obviously not going to go through 5,593 pages of changes with you guys. I would put you all to sleep. But I'm going to hit the highlights. These are the things that, as I read through it, these were the ones that I found were most impactful for most small business owners. And so If you want to hit that next slide, we're just going to hit some of the major provisions that have changed.
All right. Hey, Nick Wells, thanks for saying hi.
Yes, yes. All right, go ahead and skip ahead a couple.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I should just let you run. I should have let you do yours, you guys.
Yeah.
I should have let her do her screen.
Next slide, madam.
All right.
Yeah, so,
I've got you.
Okay. So these are the ones I'm most excited about, which is why I put them on page 1. So if I get too boring and you fall asleep, at least stay awake right now.
Don't fall asleep right now, people.
I know, I'm kidding. No one's going to fall asleep because this is scintillating content.
Yes.
So we already knew, this is not actually a change, but I wanted to talk about it anyway. If you had a PPP loan and it is forgiven, the forgiven amount is not going to be taxable income. Ordinarily, what happens if you have debt forgiven? So for example, you have a credit card and the credit card company forgives the balance. That balance that's forgiven is going to be taxable income to you at tax time. So in the first round of CARES Act, they made sure to address that the forgiven PPP loan amounts would not be included in gross income as debt forgiveness. That's really important. Yeah, it makes it non-taxable income. So on your tax return, it's not going to show up. Now in your books, it's still going to show up in the other income section, because what happens when you have a liability that's forgiven, the forgiven amount gets moved over to income. So it's just a reconciling item from books to taxes. So when you're looking at your profit and loss statement for 2020, if you've already gotten forgiveness, or in 2021, if you haven't yet had your loan forgiven, you're going to see an income line item, but don't freak out. Your tax preparer hopefully knows that that's not taxable.
Great. So well, and you know, a lot, as some of you guys might know, my career started in accounting, so corporate accounting, controller level accounting. And so for me, you know, it's easy for me to understand the impact of these adjustments, but it's not easy for small business owners to understand this stuff, because I mean, most small business owners don't even know the difference between a balance sheet and income statement, you know, these adjustments being made, taking it off of your liabilities, forgiving it, turning it into income, you know, these adjustments that happen. So it's really important that you guys get hooked up with an accounting firm that you can trust. Okay. I recommend Andrea McDonald's company, and a link to her business is in the post if you guys need help. She is amazing. And, but don't just try to wing it when you're doing your tax returns and you're trying to do this stuff yourself. This is not a time for DIY accounting, in my opinion. Hey, Nikki, thanks for being on. Thanks for saying hello. If you guys have questions, drop them in the comments and we will try to address them. One of the reasons we wanted to talk about this today is because, you know, I am doing, I'm fielding questions in a lot of Facebook groups. So let's give a quick shout out to the Facebook groups that we're streaming to and all the places we're streaming to. So one is Small Business Owners United. You guys, if you're not a member of Small Business Owners United yet, get on over there to Facebook, join that group. It's a wonderful community of 80,000 small business owners. Another group that we're streaming to, Women's Entrepreneur Network, Haley Gray's group, a wonderful community. We're also streaming to Skyrocket Your Biz, my small business community. We're streaming to YouTube. We're streaming to LinkedIn. We're streaming everywhere. And the reason we wanted to cover this today is because I'm seeing questions about these PPP programs everywhere. Okay. People are, you know, posting in these Facebook groups. Hey, how do we apply for this? How do we get forgiveness? Hey, what's the impact of this? And so we wanted to dedicate a show to this just for you guys. All right. Sorry.
It's okay. No, that's great. And it's a good point. I'm seeing a lot of information, a lot of questions on Facebook too. And I just want to caution you that not everything you read on Facebook is right. I'm seeing as much misinformation being passed around as I'm seeing, maybe even more than I'm seeing good information. So just keep that in mind when you're reading through Facebook stuff, because it may or may not be what's actually going on. Yeah. So not taxable income. The next line item is the biggest, the absolute biggest. I should have made that bullet point in like 72 font or something. So no deduction is disallowed, no tax attribute reduced, and no basis increase denied for the forgiven amounts. What the heck does that even mean, right? Let's break this down into actual English.
That sounds like a different language.
I know. I hate reading tax code. I love translating it though. So I like putting it into lay people. So what this means is the expenses that you paid for with PPP loans that are forgiven are now tax deductible.
That's
Say
insane.
what? Yes. So our tax code was already written. It was already in section 265 that any expenses paid for with tax-free income are not deductible.
Yep.
So that decision that was part of the original PPP loan program was not new. That's how our tax code was already written.
Right.
So that's why the IRS was like, what is the problem here? This is how it already is. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the big deal was that Congress did not want business owners to be penalized in any way during the shutdowns and during the quarantines as a result of taking these loans.
Right.
Congressional intent was that you got the money, you'd get it forgiven so you don't have to pay it back, and you still get to write off the expenses. So that's what the accounting community has been spending the last 7-8 months sending letters and reaching out to every government official we could find to get this addressed. And thankfully, it was included in the bill that passed at the end of December. So
it's amazing. This is a huge deal, you guys.
Yeah.
This is potentially game-changing for your business, depending on the size of your business and your tax liability.
Yeah, so there are some upsides and some downsides. And we're not going to get super into the weeds here, but the downside is, let's say your income, your gross receipts from your business were down, right? Because we were quarantined. You still had expenses that you were able to pay because you got these loan funds to buffer your gross receipts. You're going to write those off. So when you compare your 2020 financials to your 2019, you're going to show most likely a much lower net income than you showed in 2019. That's great for tax purposes, but where it might become an issue eventually is if you go for lending or something where you're going to have to show a lender that you're a viable business. Now, I'm hoping that they will all understand. You'll all have a line item that says other income forgiven PPP or whatever.
Right.
So they're going to understand, right, that these additional expenses are because you had a PPP loan forgiven. But for your 2020 taxes, great news. Those expenses are going to be deductible. And that second part, no basis increase denied. If you are a partner in a partnership or you are an S corporation member, your basis determines whether any distributions you take are taxable or not. And normally, any tax-free income or any debt forgiveness reduces your basis, which means you're more likely to have to pay tax on your distributions. So that's what a lot of business owners were facing. Money that they were pulling out to help support themselves was going to become taxable, whereas now it won't. So
that they really,
sense. They close that whole little loophole, donut hole, black hole, whatever you want to call it. They close it right up. So that's great.
Yeah. Very good. Wow, you're so good at explaining this in ways that we can all understand. I really appreciate you doing this.
I love it. So here's a little secret. I don't like accountants, right? They're usually very snooty and they like to use big words to sound important. It's just no fun. I'd rather break it down into plain English. I prefer to read it in plain English, but that's just not how the work comes to me. Awesome. Another big one, for those of you who were able to take advantage of the EIDL advance, that was that up to $10,000. It was $1,000 per employee that you got in advance. It's a grant. That in the original CARES Act reduced your PPP forgiveness. So for example, if you got a $5,000 grant because you have 5 employees and you got a $10,000 PPP loan, the max forgiveness you could get was $5,000. Right. You were going to owe back $5,000. Well, that's been fixed. Now your full $10,000 can be forgiven. The grant is still not income to you. Everything's hunky-dory.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're prepared to talk about this, but this whole EIDL side of things is really funny how that's come about, because if it's intended to be a grant, then it should be a grant, right? And why should businesses be penalized for getting the grant they were qualified for, right? And that's why it was so problematic in how these two different programs were sort of conflicting with each other and creating, all of that complication and confusion.
Yeah, I to this day can't figure out why that was even a thing. I don't understand why they had to relate one to the other. I don't know, but thankfully that's been addressed. And now the question this raises is, what about those business owners who have already applied for and been granted forgiveness, or even have already applied for and had to put on the application that they had an EIDL advance?
Right. Their forgiveness was less than what it should be based on the changes to the rule.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
so
possible there's still, money on the table that they should be forgiven for.
absolutely. And we expect that your lenders will be reaching out to you to amend your forgiveness applications. So be on the lookout. I wouldn't bombard your lender yet, because think about how many calls and emails they're probably getting. I guarantee you they know this change happened. I guarantee you they're rewriting the code for their forgiveness portals and all that stuff. So think of it just like money in the bank, right? And we had a lot of people who not only had their forgiveness reduced, but had already paid off the balance they owed. So they actually have money coming back to them, not just an additional forgiveness letter.
Yeah. Yeah. So
be on the lookout.
it's going to be messy, but it's good news, you guys. It's going to be messy, and you're going to want to be both patient and tenacious. Okay. And diligent. Make sure that, when this is all said and done, that you have gotten forgiveness for the whole amount you should be forgiven for, that if you already paid your PPP loans, that, you're following up on getting that back, and that you're really clear on the accounting side of this for your business.
Yeah. And if you're already working with an accounting professional, I will say you are your own best champion.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate to reach out to your accounting professional, but bear in mind that they also have a lot of clients who are coming to them with a lot of questions and looking for direction. So if they're not, and we're at the kickoff of tax season, right? Like this could not have come at a better/worse time. So if they don't get right back to you, just have some grace. We're all, trying to handle your financial well-being is our financial well-being. So we really do truly care that you get the best outcome. It can just sometimes be a little overwhelming to keep up. So if you don't have an accounting professional, you should probably think about finding one, especially this year, because there's just a lot going on. There's a lot to reconcile on the business and the personal returns. So this would be a great year to make that investment in you and your business.
Yep. Have it done right, you guys. Find someone like Andrea McDonald's company, ProTax Accounting, to take care of all of your needs. I want to piggyback on that. So similar, I tell people this about healthcare. You are your own best healthcare advocate for you. And, and supporting my mom through her breast cancer treatment and diagnosis. And, you have to be rigorous. You have to be a rigorous advocate for yourself and be tenacious about getting the answers and information that you need. I think a lot of times, and it relates, how you should be with your, healthcare team is the same way that you should be with your CPA firms, your other advisory teams, any of these vendor support relationships and partnerships that you have. You're your own best advocate, and you need to feel empowered to push and make sure that everything is being done right. Don't just assume. Okay. Get in there, ask questions, try to understand these concepts just to make sure. But yes, offer a little bit of patience and grace, just because there's so much flying at these people right now. Absolutely. Yep. So you may have this on another slide, but that whole EIDL grant thing, that grant thing? No, where I think I'm going to botch this, but remember, it was intended to be a $10,000 grant no matter what, right? And then somehow the SBA, in its implementation of the grant, changed their interpretation. And that's when they said, no, we're going to give $1,000 per employee up to 10 grand, right? And then there was this big hubbub about this. No, wait a minute. That's not what the intent was. Has that been fixed?
No. And I think, so you have to remember a similar situation to what we're facing now. The tax law change, or the law change, happened, and they gave very little time for these programs to be rolled out. I mean, think about it. You're talking about grant and loan programs that millions and millions, tens of millions of people were going to apply for. And there was very little time to make the portals ready and available and get the processing handled. So I think, I don't know for sure what happened. I don't know if it's that all of a sudden there were so many applications that having enough funds became questionable. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but there have been some other changes too, like even to the EIDL loan itself. I think originally when it came out, I think the cap was $2 million. You could get up to $2 million as a loan. And then by the time I don't know, August rolled around, the cap was 150,000. So I think in the beginning, they didn't realize so many people would be in such a panic and have so much uncertainty and would flock to these programs.
Right.
And it was kind of like an oh crap moment, like, oh, let's pull back the reins a little.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just somebody misread a line of the bill or I don't know what. But
do we know if that EIDL grant is now going to be fixed to 10 and that people that maybe got 1 or 2 because it was based on number of employees, if that's going to be fixed?
I don't think so. And actually, there's still funding for EIDL, and some of that was included in this new information. But I noted earlier today that the SBA has taken down the EIDL application. And they're going to bring it back up. I forget exactly what date they said it would be available again by, and I would imagine they had to take it down for some coding changes or something.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a flat 10,000. I think if the advanced portion is still available, it'll probably be $1,000 per employee, if it's even available at all. But the EIDL loan will still be available for, I don't know if it's going to be based on a period of time or amount of funding. I haven't gotten through all that part yet, but it is going to be available. And as far as business lending goes, if you can't, there are new rules to qualify for this second round of PPP.
Yeah.
It's not as open as it was before. So for people who can't qualify for another round of PPP funding, they might rely on the EIDL, and the repayment terms are pretty generous and the interest rate is pretty generous for business lending. So keep an eye on that if you don't think you'll qualify. And just the main qualifier for the second round of PPP is that you have to be able to prove a minimum 25% decrease in gross receipts for any quarter of 2020 compared with that same quarter of 2019. So the first round
was any quarter.
Yeah. So it could be any quarter of 2020 compared with that same quarter of 2019.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. The first round of PPP, I think the qualifier was, do you expect or are you experiencing economic uncertainty? I mean, who the heck wasn't? Everybody was, right?
No.
And that was back when we thought this was only going to last 8 weeks. And here we are 9 months later. But this time, you're going to have to prove that you've had that percentage at least decrease in gross receipts. You're going to have to provide documentation at the point of application rather than waiting for the point of forgiveness. So not everyone is going to qualify this round.
Okay. Do you want me to move this darn slide forward now?
Sure. I mean, this was an important one. So hopefully everyone got their pictures and all that good stuff. Another good thing that changed is that the non-payroll costs for forgiveness, which previously were just things like rent, business mortgage interest, some health benefits for your staff, it was pretty limited. Yes. The definition or the items that are included in non-payroll costs for the purposes of calculating your forgiveness have been expanded. I don't know exactly why they picked what they picked. Computer costs, I would imagine because companies had a lot of people working from home to accommodate. So they probably reimbursed their staff for home office setups and whatever. Mm-hmm. Some inventory items, and we don't have time to get into the weeds, so I just listed it as some inventory. Human resources, protective equipment. So if you had to outfit your offices or your retail spaces with protective gear and equipment and buy stuff for your staff. So all that stuff now can be included in your PPP forgiveness calculations. So that's kind of good. If for some reason you wouldn't have been able to qualify, you didn't have enough of other expenses or payroll, this might help you get to that point. And it's important, I think, to note that all of these changes are retroactive back to the first round of PPP. So it's not like it started just with the second round. Yeah.
Wow, they really are going to have a mess to clean up.
Girl, you don't even know. This tax season is amazing.
I mean, it's good. It's all good. This is great. Great news for all these small businesses. But oh my God, I can't imagine being in your position, having to do accounting for all this. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a real good time.
I bet. All right, next slide.
Yeah, so another great change is before this new law, PPP loans that were $50,000 or less were able to use a one-page, super, super easy forgiveness application. It was basically just a questionnaire that said, did you use all of your money for payroll?
Uh-huh.
Yes or no. I mean, it was very, very basic. Well, this law has made that same one-page forgiveness application available to loans up to $150,000. So I'm sure you all heard the whole blanket forgiveness up to $150,000. Well, this is that version of blanket forgiveness. It's not like they're just going to automatically forgive without you submitting anything. but it's super, super simple. I mean, when I submitted mine, it took me maybe 3 minutes. I mean, it was super fast.
Nice.
Easy application.
Okay.
So that's great because now it's available for businesses that had loans up to 150,000. Over
Great.
150,000, you still have to do the long form, pull all the backup, get super, super familiar with your accountant and your lender. It's going to be real exciting. Lots of hugs all around. But for those of you with under 150, you can just like high five me on the way by and submit. Yeah, good stuff. All right. So I don't see any comments about PPP stuff. If you have any, go ahead and post them. We're going to take a brief dip into the world of employee retention tax credit. This is really complicated, so we're just going to stay super high level, but I wanted to mention a couple of things because there are some important changes here.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Next slide.
Oh.
Yeah. So in my opinion, the most important change previously, so the employer retention tax credit is a credit available when you file your quarterly 941s. It was up to a certain percent of employee wages that you paid during that quarter, and there was a cap, and you got it back immediately. So instead of having to remit the full payment, you got to remit a reduced payment if you paid quarterly, or if you were making your payments monthly like most of us, you were getting money back, like a physical refund of payroll taxes paid.
Interesting.
Yeah. So previously, if you had a PPP loan, you weren't eligible for the employee retention tax credit. You were just out of luck. Sorry for you. Now, even if you got a PPP loan, you could qualify for the employee retention tax credit, just not for the same payroll dollars that you had forgiven for PPP.
Got it.
So before, even if you ran out of PPP dollars by April 15th or May 15th, you still were not eligible for the employee retention tax credit for the rest of 2020.
Wow.
Now you would be eligible for any point after you ran out of PPP funds.
That's
pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even more exciting, here's a tax planning opportunity. I should be charging for this.
Heck yeah.
If you have not yet applied for forgiveness, if you were able to get full forgiveness just because of payroll, it was really simple. When you filled out that one page, you just said, yep, only payroll, done and done. Well, now, when you fill out your forgiveness application, don't only rely on payroll. 60% of your amount still has to be for payroll, which means only 40% can be non-payroll costs. For every dollar of forgiveness you can attribute to a non-payroll cost, that opens up a dollar to which you can apply this credit.
Ooh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And it can be a pretty significant amount. I think it's capped at $7,000 per employee. So you're going to be able to get up to $7,000 per employee as a credit, as a refund back in payroll taxes. So think about it. If you can have your forgiveness application take only 5 minutes, but it costs you $7,000 times however many employees you have, or you can have your forgiveness application take a half an hour and go ahead and get that $7,000 per employee you have. Now it's not a $7,000 automatically. It's a percentage of wages, but you see how this could add up, right? So I encourage you.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting to look over there. I get so excited.
I love doing my shout outs when people comment. Drop us a comment, ask questions, you guys. You get a few more minutes with Andrea here. She is an amazing resource for this stuff.
So much fun. I'm like, I could go all night. So
I don't know how you
can do in like a minute and a half.
That's great. Well, no, but we can go a little, depending on your schedule. We actually have a little wiggle room on our time. So it's totally up to you how long this goes. So you just let me know.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate what I just said one more time, because this part is a little bit confusing. So when you apply for forgiveness, at least 60% has to be on payroll. You can use 100% of payroll dollars to qualify for forgiveness, but at least 60% has to be payroll. Right. If you were in a position where you had one of those non-payroll costs, like rent, like business mortgage interest, like now computer costs, human resources, if you had to buy PPE for your shop or for your staff, I would encourage you to try to maximize that 40% as non-payroll costs, because that opens up payroll dollars that you can use to qualify for this employee retention credit. Going to save you a bunch of money. Even if it only saves you $500, I mean, $500 is $500, especially in a year when money has been tight, everyone's been struggling. And I really hate to see people miss out on this money. It's there, it's perfectly legal. There's no rule that says if you have enough payroll dollars, you have to use 100% for payroll. You just have to hit that magic 60% number. So max out that 40% non-payroll cost and go ahead and get you some employee retention tax credit. And the crazy part is, right, 2020 is over. We've already filed all of our quarterly 941s.
Right.
So they're going to have to find a way for us to go back and amend so we can get that money back.
And it's going to be worth it. I mean, I've had to amend 941s before. It's a total pain, but my goodness, if you think of the money involved here, you guys, this is amazing. So Susan says, such great info. I was about to apply for forgiveness, but this is gold.
Yay! I'm so excited. I mean, if even just one person leaves here tonight knowing something more than they knew when they got here and will benefit financially from these tips, I'm just super, super happy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want me to scroll to the next, or do
I think that's the last one. Yeah.
Oh,
that's it.
Awesome. Wow, you're good. She's good, you guys. So listen, I think moral of the story, number one, those of you who have been, tenacious do-it-yourselfers on your accounting and your tax returns, good on you. Stop it now. Now's the time to go ahead and get that professional help from someone like Andrea, a CPA that has spent time understanding all of the little ins and outs here, because this is going to get complex. And I want every one of you to get the full benefit of these programs. And guess what? You're just not going to be able to do that if you're interpreting these laws yourself and trying to figure this stuff out yourself. Okay. I have 25 years of business management experience, and a lot of that was spent on corporate accounting. Okay. I do not want to take this on for myself. Okay. And I understand what a lot of these terms and concepts and impacts are, but I know better. I am going to let someone else that knows better, that's certified and has spent the time to research this stuff, handle it. And so please, if there's ever been a year for you to make that leap and go ahead and have your accounting done professionally, have your tax returns and this stuff done professionally, please do. And if you need a solid referral from someone that I trust, it's this person right here. Andrea has, really proven to me that she understands the big picture and the fine details of just even management accounting, much less, tax strategy. Okay. So she is there. There's a link to her business. You can follow, reach out to her, whatever. There's a link to it in this post. Okay. So this is the time. Make sure that you get the full benefit of these programs that have been fought so hard. I mean, these were so hard won. They're hard. How come I can't come up with the words? It was a hard fought win. No. What is it?
It's amazing is what it is.
Okay. Yeah. So these things and these programs are there for you, but we want to make sure that you get the full benefit and do it right. So I'm going to actually get rid of this screen sharing so it can just be you and I again. So make sure that you guys get help. Okay. Do not wing it. Do not, try to improvise and figure this stuff out yourself, especially that whole ERTC, the Employee Retention Tax Credit. I don't even know about that. And that is going to be super complex because it's impacting your 941s. And then the amount of your forgiveness on the PPP, it's complicated. So be sure to get help on this. And yeah, I mean, now's the time, right? So we're starting a new year. Actually, I want to talk for a minute, but Andrea, do you have any closing statements on this whole, the PPP, the ERTC, EIDL before we closing comments?
Just one point with the ERTC, if you work with a third-party payroll provider like ADP, like Gusto, like Paychex, I 1,000% promise you they are aware of this change. And I can all but guarantee they're in the process of figuring out how they're going to go back and amend these 941s. Okay. So you can feel free to reach out to them and check on the status, but I promise you they are already working on it. This is why they shine, right? This is why third-party payroll providers exist, is to help through craziness in payroll. So just want to point that out. So if you are working with a third-party provider, you can reach out to them, but it's probably already in the works.
Yeah. And they're probably going to be backed up with phone calls.
Oh, yeah. I would not want to be a payroll provider right now.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Okay. Well, so let's close up this conversation. So you guys watch the show back if you just are jumping on now. Huge amount of information. Thank you so much, Andrea. I just want to also remind you guys, we are on, for me, it's the 6th. Okay. And for you guys, it's the 5th. You have 360 days left to reach your business goals. Get the hell on it. Get on it. Okay. If you have not made a plan for 2021, get started. Create 3 or 4 key objectives. Okay. And focus on those, and then create quarterly action plans and milestones that support that. Okay. And if you need help, I am here for you. There's a link to get a free call with me. And no, I do not use these free calls to sell at you. So you don't have to worry about that. Don't you hate that? I focus on building a relationship with you and giving you clear, actionable advice. Yes. And clarity in that call. Okay. So you're going to leave the call with actionable advice and clarity no matter what. So take advantage of it. I'm here for you. I love this stuff. I love what I do. Mm-hmm. And so for me, getting to talk to someone for 30 or 45 minutes is a blessing. So, for me, it's fun. I love what I do. So you guys take advantage of that. And if you want to connect with Andrea, her information is in that post. She's fantastic. Okay. This is a relationship that I highly recommend you build.
Appreciate the shout out. I love talking to people. We do offer free consultations, and I'll do a free review of prior year tax returns, all the things.
Things.
I'd love to talk to you. You can shoot me an email. You can hit me up on my Facebook page, all kinds of ways. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I will do my very, very best to answer, or at least point you in the right direction. If you are interested in working with a tax professional near you, like local to you, and you're not sure what to ask them, shoot me a message. I'll tell you what you should ask them. I'll teach you how to interview your tax people. Make them work for your work, right? They work for you, not the other way around. So make them work for it.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Well, Andrea, yet again, you were great. Thanks. And we will see you next month. And for those of you still watching, I just want to make another big announcement. So I did a quick impromptu live yesterday because I was giddy. Guess what? So the second Tuesday of every month, guess who my co-host is going to be? You have to guess. Guess. No, really get. No, I'm just kidding. You guys, it's the business bully. The business bully, Dave Anderson, is going to be on here.
That's exciting.
Oh my God. I'm super stoked. So I am super excited. He's going to come on for at least a couple months. Okay. So next week, oh my God, do not miss this show. I'm super stoked. He is going to bring so much value, and he's going to bully us and make our businesses better. I cannot wait. So I just wanted to make that quick announcement. Super stoked. All right. So I look forward to seeing you guys all next week. Andrea, thank you again. We'll see you next month.
Yeah,
and you guys, happy businessing. If it's not making you happy, you're doing something wrong. Just saying. All right. See you guys. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.